Whenever we reach Parshat Tissa, my congregants are flabbergasted. They come to me and ask, how could it be that Bnei Yisrael, the Israelites, could have made the golden calf? They experienced the 10 plagues in Egypt from which they were saved. They were taken through the wilderness. The sea was split for them. The Egyptians were drowned in the sea. They received the manna from heaven. They had the miraculous cloud of God that guided them by the day and the pillar of fire by night. They came to Mount Sinai. They received the 10 commandments. They heard God himself say, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am the Lord your God. Lo yeh lecha Elohim acharim al panai, you may not have any other gods beside me. They saw all of these signs and wonders. Was it not absolutely crystal clear to them that there were no other gods and no other deities and no other powers? And yet, 40 days after receiving the 10 commandments, they make the golden calf. How could this be? And our initial reaction is to say, well, they were just simple-minded slaves. They were unsophisticated. And that's why this happened. But let's try to understand this in light of a very interesting passage in the Talmud tractate Sanhedrin. Rav Ashi was giving a lecture. Rav Ashi was one of the greatest sages of the Babylonian Talmud. In fact, he was responsible for compiling. He was one of the last sages of the Babylonian Talmud. And he was giving a lecture, and he was lecturing about the 3 kings, 3 great kings of the province of the kingdom of Judah, who had been very wicked people. They were great kings, but they would be very wicked people. And one of them was Manasseh. So he said to his students, he said, tomorrow I'm going to give you a lecture on our 3 colleagues, the kings. That's how he referred to them. Our 3 friends, our 3 colleagues, the kings. He was sort of equating these kings to himself. That night, Rav Ashi had a dream. And in his dream, Manasseh, this one of these kings, who was a very wicked king who turned to idolatry, came to him, and he was furious. And he said, what gives you the right to refer to yourself as my colleague? Do you even know about Jewish law? And he proceeded to ask Rav Ashi a halachic question, and Rav Ashi, the great sage, was not able to answer it. And Rav Ashi was so taken aback, and he said to Manasseh in the dream, he said, look, seeing as you're so wise, you're such a Torah scholar, why did you serve idolatry? In fact, you led the nation to serve idolatry. Why did you do it? I can't understand it. And Manasseh said to him, had you lived at that time, you would have lifted up the hem of your robes and you would have run to serve idolatry. In other words, Rav Ashi, you don't understand the pull that existed at that time to serve idolatry. It's not something you could comprehend. We look back at time at different historical movements, whether it's socialism or it's communism, things that overpowered the world. And sometimes we look back at these people and think, what were they thinking? Why did they do that? And we think of them as stupid. We try to cancel them. We're so sophisticated, we're so wise, we would never have done such a thing. But is that entirely true? Can you judge them by today's standards? There was a time in the world that idolatry was absolutely common. There was a desire for it. The sages actually prayed to God to remove that desire. So it shouldn't be on us to so simply judge the Israelites in the wilderness. And as it says in Pirkei Avot, do not judge your fellow man until you come into his place, which in many instances is a near impossibility. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.